Hello, my name is Kathy Dixon. Welcome to the Math Reflective. I'm really excited to join in on week 2's mini question for the virtual conference on Humanizing Mathematics. This week's question is, what specific kinds of things do you see and hear that show belongingness in classrooms, whether it be my own or other people's classrooms? Well, first I have to start by thinking about what belongingness is and how that pertains to students. So one way to look at belongingness is a source of personal worth and motivation to contribute and participate in a particular group. And I'm definitely well aware that as I have entering 6th graders each year, they already come in with a sense of belongingness or a lack of belongingness. So that part is out of my control. But what I need to do and what I can commit to doing is to eliminate any unnecessary barriers that would get in the way of them feeling belongingness in my classroom. So what does that look like and how do I do that? I just recently released a video about classroom culture and the things that I do in my classroom to develop a classroom community. So certainly those kinds of routines come into mind right away, like getting to know your students and doing icebreakers and letting them build relationships with each other, developing norms together. I think if a person came in to observe my classroom, some of the things that they would notice and observe that could be considered belongingness would be that it is very student-driven classroom. Even as the students come in, one student stands up, walks around, takes the attendance sheet, and is already taking attendance before the bell rings. We assign and allow students to apply for certain jobs in our classroom, so that definitely gives a sense of belongingness, and other students see that as we value student input, we value student leadership. Then before we even start what we're going to do that day, we have a student leader that goes over the board and would list the daily objective, what our mathematical practice is, all the steps in our agenda, and then whatever homework we have. So again, having that students driving the routines of the classroom definitely contributes to our community and hopefully to students' feeling of belongingness. But it really does go deeper than that. I recently watched a webinar by Dr. Jamal Sharif Matthews called Belonging in Math Classrooms Through Instructional Choices and Practices. And it really made me think a little bit more deeply about this question of belongingness in the classroom. I'm very fortunate in my district that we're doing a second-year pilot of Open Up Resources 6-8 Math. It is a rigorous curriculum that provides equity and access to all students for free. This resource was authored by Illustrative Mathematics, and the design of it is so intelligent. It always starts with a warm-up activity that guarantees every student has an access point. We regularly use number talks, which one does not belong routine, notice and wonder, just to name a few. So let's talk about notice and wonder for a minute. It can even be something that a student notices that is non-mathematical in the notice and wonder routine. That is the beauty in that. All students have a say and their voice can be heard and be valued, which promotes a sense of belongingness. Another instructional routine that we regularly employ with Open Up Resources 6-8 Math is using the 5 practices. We carefully select and sequence students to share their methods and strategies and their thinking in solving a task. So again, we are showing all students that every voice matters and that we allow many different methods and we value many different methods, not just an I do and then you do it like I do. I think perhaps the coolest thing that I could share that's happened in my classroom, especially my co-taught classroom with my teaching partner, Mary Dooms, she's the math interventionist at our school, is we so often have students go up to the board or explain their reasoning or project on their iPads, that there has been several times in the last couple years where, you know, a student's dying to like share another idea, and then when we go to call on them, the student literally just goes, can I just show you on the board? And they get up and they walk over to the board. They cannot help but get out of their seat to share their thinking. And often they're taking a risk. They're not worrying about being correct, but they feel such an ownership in the classroom that they are a mathematician and that they are valued, that they can't help but take over. And we always say, this is your classroom. We want you guys to do that. But it just actually gave me chills and tears the first couple times that happened. So just to summarize some of the things that I discussed that you would see and hear in a classroom that promotes belongingness, you would see students that are taking over the classroom. Students are driving the learning. all ideas are shared and valued. You would see open access to every student. You would see entry points for every student to get involved in discussion. You would see students not being afraid to take a risk and just getting up out of their seat because they want to show another method. That's what you would see and hear in a classroom that promotes belongingness. One more thing before I leave you. I do want to talk about something that I also learned about in Dr. Matthews' webinar, and that was about something called 4-H belonging-centered instruction. And the 4 H's stand for home, hobbies, hopes, and heritage. And if we really incorporate these into our classroom, it shows students that we value their knowledge and their experiences that they bring into our classroom. That is something I want to do to step up what I offer in my classroom this year. I definitely admit that I don't always do something with those interests and with those experiences and things that I learn about my students. So I'd like to try to figure out a way this year to incorporate more of those interests, those things about student heritage and what makes them diverse and unique somehow into the learning. So again, I'm going to link everything that I talked about below, as well as the link to get into that webinar. Well, thank you so much for watching today and for listening to my answer to that prompt, and look forward to more continued conversation. Until next time, are you ready for more?